Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Strong Collectors Podcast. My name is Dakota Phillips.
And my name is Jordan Fash. And we are going to be reviewing the Marvel Legends waves of 2021. So just to get started here, I know what you're thinking. Everybody does a retrospective talk about the year. What makes yours different? Well, you'll have to listen to find out. And that's not a gimmick just to get you to listen. Maybe it is, but you'll find out once you get to the end of the episode. So the first wave we're talking about is going to be the Stilt Man Wave. Now, similar to next year's wave, I believe this one started kind of hitting the shelves in December or so of 2020. That sound right, Dakota?
I think so. It's kind of one of those like in-betweeners where maybe it got released early, maybe they bumped it up, so you could have had it on your last year's review,
right?
And this year, so but maybe it's special that way.
We're gonna throw it in the 2021 category. So this one was the Stilt Man Build-A-Figure wave. Most of these figures came from the Into the Spider-Verse movie, which they had the Peter B. Parker, Spider-Gwen, Prowler, and Miles Morales. And then we also had the Hand Ninja and Frogman. So this is a wave that personally I was a big fan of the Into the Spider-Verse movie. I don't know how you felt about it, Dakota.
I love the movie. Yeah, that one? I definitely enjoyed it.
Okay, so the movie was good. I thought it was interesting to tackle because that movie was pretty well known for like the unique take it took on the animation style. So I thought that was kind of a cool idea to try to incorporate some of the sort of stylized versions of those characters, because normally we're used to seeing kind of more of the comic booky or kind of realistic versions, which I thought was a cool attempt at doing that, which kind of sort of feels like a precursor to what they've been doing now, which are some of those animated series style, like the cell shading and all that kind of stuff, which I think has been pretty cool. So yeah, overall, I thought that was a cool approach to take to them. I had most of these figures at one point or another. Currently, I do not have the Peter B. Parker, Prowler, Miles Morales. Now, maybe that tells you how I feel about them. I don't know. My biggest gripe with probably all three of those is that they have what is supposed to be like a cloth element on their characters, right? Peter B. Parker has like the trench coat, Miles has got the jacket, Prowler's got the cape, right? And I think this is something that Hasbro kind of struggles in some ways to do, is how to replicate like the cloth feeling in their figures without like totally restricting the movement, if that makes sense. Like when you have a Peter B. Parker and he's got a trench coat on, maybe it looks like it, but you can't get him to do anything. He's kind of like just stationary.
Right.
Which,
and even if you have him in some dynamic pose, you're going to have that stiff cape or stiff trench coat that's not going to move in a natural way. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Prowler, you bend him over, he's got a cape just jutting out. I mean, I guess it looks like he's flying or something. But and then Miles, I was excited for, because I was like, this is cool. He's got like the hoodie look, which is cool. But again, it's kind of like just this big lump of plastic on the top half of his body. So I don't know. You and I both grew up on the Toy Biz figures, which I feel like they like, say what you will about them, but like when you had the actual cloth, I thought that was so cool. Like if you had a Gambit with the cloth,
the
trench coat, or like Beast with the lab coat, or like something about those I think is really cool. And I notice a lot of people on different groups that we've looked at either buy those cloth capes or customize them themselves. So I don't know. Do we think Hasbro will ever get to the point of giving us cloth goods on their figures?
I'm going to say I'm not hopeful for it.
I'm not either, but I think it'd be cool. Like, I don't know. That was probably my biggest gripe with most of the figures in this wave, that, or at least the Peter B. Parker, Prowler, Miles Morales. Spider-Gwen, I think it's cool she came with Spider-Ham. That's kind of fun. I don't know. I think they were trying to sort of give you more of those characters without actually making them characters in the wave.
Like they did with
Hand Ninja.
When they did the Monster Venom wave and they gave you a Spider-Ham as the actual figure, essentially just to get you to the figure, which it was okay, but I like this idea better when you've got those smaller characters mixed in with the other character.
Right. That way it's like, I probably wouldn't pay top dollar for a Spider-Ham, but if I get him the figure, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I know we've talked about, we like that the Hand Ninja came with the Stilt Man legs. That's a cool idea for the collectors out there who want to do the army building. But I think you and I both agree that Frogman was very cool. You got your Frogman?
I got my Frogman here too.
Is a little more stationary. Mine's crouching and leaping. So this Frogman is a character. I don't know about you, Dakota. I didn't really know that much about Frogman when I first saw him. I was kind of like, what is this guy? Now, I did do a little bit of research on Frogman for you, just to give you a little bit of context. So I know that Dakota and I have this thing going where I'm always like, I want to get the figure. If I know about it, Dakota just grabs figures that look cool. And I do that too.
Exactly.
But this is one figure I got without knowing much about him. So I did a little research on Frogman, aka Eugene Patilio. And did you know, Dakota, that he is the son of Vincent Patilio, who is a former supervillain named Leapfrog?
I did not know that.
And Frogman, I thought he was a villain. He's actually trying to be a hero. He found his father's frog suit one day, and he decided to go fight crime. He accidentally defeated Speed Demon, and then he went on to help some other superheroes. Now, this is something I think is interesting. He briefly formed a team with after Toad got kicked out of the Brotherhood of Mutants by Magneto being too lame. He teamed up with Frogman, and they teamed up with Spider Kid, who's like a kid with just robot arms that he used to love Doc Ock. Then he became a Spider-Man fan, and they formed a group called the Misfits. Now, they appeared for about one issue, and then they disappeared forever. So if Hasbro's listening, I'd love my Misfits 3-pack of those characters. But eventually Frogman got captured by Kraven's son. He hunted him for sport, but I'm not making this up. But he got saved by the Punisher. So happy ending.
Oh my goodness.
So
I mean, we know that Toad is coming.
Really cool.
So maybe that Toad is going to end up being in a 3-pack with your new team.
That might be part of it. Who knows? So what I think is cool about Hasbro doing figures like this, like I wouldn't have known that, and I wouldn't have thought to look that stuff up. But I think it's kind of fun / funny to be like, I have no idea who this guy is, but I want to learn a little bit about him. And, I think it's shown that most people I've talked to, and I think you too, have said Frogman was like the coolest figure out of the wave. So yeah. I think that's kind of a sign to be like, you don't always have to give us, Wolverine or Spider-Man or Doctor Strange. It's okay to be like, you know what? Here's something kind of weird, kind of out of nowhere. But here you go.
Yeah, I think that the reuse, because I guess I don't have the Doc Ock with the body that this is from, but I think that was a smart reuse because it's kind of a pudgy body that isn't going to fit a whole lot of superheroes, but the fact that they were able to find somebody else, and I know some people really hate when they reuse things. I don't mind as long as they're going to do it in a good way. And I think they did it in a really good way here, where they just repurposed the body. I mean, obviously a new head sculpt, and I don't know of anybody else with flippers with springs in them that would be able to reuse his feet. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool retooling.
Well, even the detail's cool where you can see like his eyes peeking out from between the mask. Sort of
frog
added
mouth,
detail there. Yeah, I thought he was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Now, how about the Stilt Man, the Build-A-Figure of the wave?
Yes, Stilt Man. Here, I'm gonna grab Stilt Man. I got him right here.
Don't cause an avalanche on the shelf.
Oh no, we're good. We're safe. Okay. Here is the basic Stilt Man, no extra stilts. You know, I guess similar to Frogman, he's kind of one of those figures that you're like, this guy's kind of seems like a joke, but he's a funny joke.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the coolest feature was probably they gave him, I mean, the most creative thing was that you could stack multiple legs based on how many hand ninjas you got to make him tall.
Right.
Downfall, he does get pretty wobbly, unfortunately. But, you know, I think for the sake of display, you can get probably 2 sets of legs in there.
I mean, I've even seen some people stack them with Stilt Man's head clear up to the ceiling, standing on the floor. So at least almost a 10-foot tall Stilt Man.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, I think Stilt Man's another figure that, another character that kind of made me want to research a little bit more. Again, didn't know really who Stilt Man was, but for some reason, I think you remember, I saw this and I was hunting these pieces down. I did a little Stilt Man research. If you want to know about Stilt Man,
let's hear it. Let's hear the Stilt Man research.
So, his real name is Wilbur Day. I like that his name's Wilbur, but he was a scientist engineer who was working with a guy who made a hydraulic ram. So naturally, what did Wilbur do? He said, I'm going to steal this and turn them into hydraulic stilts. So of course he did. But he also made this battle suit, which they have captured and cool. I like the kind of like backpacky hood type thing. I think that looks cool. But it actually makes him super strong and impervious, and he can move on his stilts up to 30 miles per hour. So he started battling Daredevil. Somehow he got shrunken into nothingness by a molecular ray. But Stilt Man, what did he do? He came back. He started fighting other people. He formed the Emissaries of Evil with, get this, Leapfrog.
Frogman's back to old Frogman.
So I'm waiting for that pack. But eventually the Punisher shot him with the bazooka. Punisher shot him with the bazooka and paralyzed him. And then he shot him in the face point blank.
As if the bazooka wasn't enough.
Well, he had to get through his arm, you know?
I see.
But don't worry, because later on, well, what happened, they had a funeral for him, and all the supervillains got together. And if it wasn't enough, Punisher showed up and shot a bazooka at the funeral. Or he threw acid or a bomb or something.
Oh my gosh,
but
the
don't
Punisher
worry,
is a jerk.
I know, he's a mean guy, dude. But don't worry, because eventually Stilt Man was cloned and he came back to life. So now you don't have to have a dead figure. I thought this was kind of cool too, though. His little briefcase. I don't know if people talked about that, but his little briefcase opens and you got a little stack of money there, which I think is kind of fun.
Yeah.
You can, you know, you can have him running away and his money's flying out and all that. But that's Stilt Man. So I think Stilt Man and Frogman were both pretty cool, kind of funny, kind of random. But I think it shows Hasbro kind of has a sense of humor and is like, you know what? We'll do something kind of weird and crazy. And I think it worked. I think it made the figures I didn't love so much sort of made up for them, because you got to work towards a cool figure. So I'd say overall, I think those were some redeeming elements that made for a fun start to the year.
Nice. Ready to move on to the Tri-Sentinel wave?
Yes.
All right. Now I'll
Ready
give the
for that.
caveat that neither one of us really collected much of this wave. I collected, I guess, the most with 2 figures. Jordan has had the Build-A-Figure, so this one
Mhm.
might not talk about quite as much, but the figures
Yeah.
that composed this wave were Marvel Girl, so that's Jean Grey and kind of her classic look, Professor X, Wolverine, Cyclops, Magneto, Moyra Mctaggart, and Omega Sentinel. And this wave is based off of, I guess, the House of X storyline, which Jordan, have you read that?
I haven't. Have
Jordan
you?
Jordan skipped that. I skipped that.
I know. I
So I
read
mean,
some of the Wikipedia page though.
there,
So
we're gonna hear some more fun facts from Jordan about the House of X and the figures.
maybe.
I never read it, so I guess if you were a big fan of that storyline, maybe you've got a different opinion about some of these figures than we do. But I guess the 2 figures I have, I've got the Magneto, and this is Magneto in his full white attire. Pretty decent Magneto. I think it's, if it's not the exact same Magneto as the Apocalypse wave, where he's the black and red outfit, it's super close. And probably, I mean, maybe the belt is different. I don't imagine he's got so many pouches as he did in the Family Matters 3-pack, but looks pretty similar to that. The cape is maybe a little different. I've seen Jordan's Family Matters 3-pack Magneto, and I think this cape sits on him a little bit better. Decent Magneto, but I mean, you probably don't need an all-white Magneto. You probably want more of that classic red Family Matters version. And then I've got Moira Mctaggart.
I think he's so worried about getting that thing dirty, you know?
Yeah, exactly. How's he going to fight the X-Men? Or maybe he is part of the X-Men because he's got X-Men on his belt.
Yeah, I think it's like they all band together on like the island of Krakoa as like this new mutant nation is the vibe I got.
Gotcha.
So I think he's like goodish.
Goodish. Take it.
Goodish.
Then the other figure I have is Moyra Taggart, which if you're watching the video, you can see that this isn't actually Moyra Mctaggart. I used the Moyra Mctaggart body to make myself a Mary Jane with the retro Mary Jane head that comes with Gwen Stacy. And then she was a part of my Christmas dance party display. So
better look at that, Dakota.
Yeah, so I ordered some Santa hats that were a little too big, so I just cut the top off and used the top of it for Santa hat, and then the bottom of it was Mary Jane's Christmas dress. So that's my hand at customizing there.
Dakota's now taking commissions.
I mean, I thought that was a pretty decent figure. I mean, it came with a lot. I mean, you had different head sculpts. She comes with the lab coat that you can take the arms off and put the regular arms on. So pretty good options that come with her. I would say she was probably people's favorite from the wave. I have some trouble standing her up. Those feet are not super great for balancing, and then the peg hole on it is so small that even though I've got some of those NECA stands, it doesn't really port very far in there, so it's still a little bit wobbly. But yeah, I would say she was probably my favorite, just because then I'm able to get a Mary Jane and lots of uses out of one figure. I guess, what did you feel about the Tri-Sentinel Build-A-Figure? I thought, for me personally, I thought it was cool that it was tall, but it just seemed a little too skinny and slender to be a Build-A-Figure.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were trying not to step on the HasLab Sentinel's toes, but like, I would have been much more likely to A, want to collect the wave, and B, keep the Build-A-Figure had it been, you know, like this is a 12-foot tall Sentinel. You know, like it's not the giant Sentinel, but like you remember in the comics and the cartoons, you've got the master mold and he's got the little ones, and then he sends out the smaller ones. And I think that would have probably motivated a lot more people to grab these, because I saw them a lot on the shelf, and I saw them go on clearance like pretty quick, and people weren't even really buying them on clearance, I don't think. I mean, some people, of course, but I feel like had it been like, you got to walk that line between making it like this is specific to this comic line and also appealing to kind of the average collector. Like the average collector may have gotten Marvel Girl because she could fit, as you said, like the classic look. But pretty much everybody else, I guess maybe Moyra Mctaggart, just because there hasn't been her, but pretty much everybody else, I guess Wolverine, he's got that orange and tan.
Yeah, it's a different color. Yeah, different costume. But I mean, how many Wolverines do you need? They're always going to make another.
Yeah, but definitely very different Magneto, Cyclops.
Professor
very
X.
different Professor X.
Exactly.
Well,
I mean, I can see if you were a
this.
customizer, you would like that Professor X because it's just a blank slate.
Yeah.
You can do anything with it.
Right. Yeah, I guess he is it's Professor X's mind in the body of Phantom X.
Oh.
So they just call him X.
Gotcha.
So but you know, he's got that big old helmet thing on, and personally I like my classic Professor X with a blankie in a hover chair.
Yep.
You know,
I agree.
You can't really beat that Professor X. But as far even for valuing it what it is, the Tri-Sentinel, it was just kind of top heavy, you know, like it was big and bulky on top, and it had these skinny little legs, and just I don't know. Even if I was like, I really love this and want to love this figure, I would have had a hard time. The heads didn't really fit in great. I don't know. I would say a step down from Stilt Man, which is obviously what we started with.
I had seen some people displaying it with their HasLab Sentinel once they got that, and their Toy Biz Sentinels and their Nimrods and things like that, and that looked cool. And if I had gotten the HasLab Sentinel to keep, I would probably also want to get a Tri-Sentinel to go with it to kind of army build it out. But since I don't have a HasLab Sentinel, I didn't really necessarily have a huge desire for a Tri-Sentinel.
Yeah, and you have to imagine a lot of people were kind of wanting more classic. I mean, everybody wants classic X-Men, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see what they do moving forward with maybe they were like, you know what, we're going to do the animated series stuff. You'll get your classic stuff there. But for now, again, I guess like I said before, you got to commend them for saying we're going to do something a little different. Because I have heard great things about those comics. I haven't read them. They're written by, I believe, Jonathan Hickman, who wrote the most recent Secret Wars comic, which is what the God Doom is from. Little tease for the later episode coming up. So I have to imagine if you were a fan of this comic, you probably were into these figures and wanted them.
And I guess going back to the HasLab Sentinel, when it came in that box, the box art was all that wave, which would have made me want that even more, because if I'm gonna, like, I would probably have cut the box so that I could display the whole thing as a poster and then have my House of X displayed in front of the poster doing the battle type scene that box art shows. So yeah, I could see that definitely being a big draw, especially because that was I don't know if they did the HasLab. We got in after the HasLab Sentinel was all like you couldn't buy it anymore. But if they did that like they did the Galactus, where they showed the box art beforehand, that probably helped some of those people that knew what was coming definitely want to get that. So
yeah. So overall, I'd say yeah, like you said, if you had a vested interest, I think you probably pick these up.
What do you think? We're at about 25-ish minutes. If I started my watch on time, which I didn't, I'm adding some time, but should we go into the Mr. Hyde wave, or should we cut it here and then come back?
I mean, I think, are you saying you would just cut it and then jump to?
Well, then we can just do like a part 2, or, you know, episode 2.
Oh, like
review.
make this an episode 2, or make another episode.
Right.
I think we could do Mr. I mean, I don't know.
All right, let's jump into Mr. Hyde, and well, I mean, I don't think we have a ton to say on this one. I mean, I think
Maybe
we've
that's
both
why we
had
should tag it on.
almost all of these figures. So the Mr. Hyde Wave came with the movie Shang-Chi release, although it came out way before the movie was released because of the pandemic. The movie got pushed back, and then the figures were out, and then nobody knew who they were really. Nobody knew the storyline because, I mean, Shang-Chi himself isn't a super popular character. So then when you had some of those other ones in there, that really hurt I think the value of those figures. I mean, that was kind of what I saw. What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, my Walmart had, or not Walmart, Target had about 300 Katie's on the shelves for about 4 months. So if you were a big Katie Aquafina fan before this movie, you would have been in paradise. Let me tell you that. Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer because it's like I'm sure they were planning, because I think initially Shang-Chi was supposed to come out in like early
Right.
part of the year, then maybe switch to like May, and then switch to June, and then so it's like you can't fault them for the timing.
Mm-hmm.
I think what was kind of fun is that, again, they threw in, as we've seen in the earlier way, well, at least kind of in Stilt Man, like 2 characters that were just like, hey,
right,
you know, these don't have anything to do with the movie, but here they are.
You want to do a rundown of the characters?
Yeah. So we got Shang-Chi, we got Wenwu, Death Dealer. I'm gonna butcher the name. Xialing. I think AI Iron Man, Civil Warrior, and then we had the Target exclusive Katie with the Morris, the little magical what paper dog looking thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess just going down. Dakota, what would you say is a standout from this wave?
I mean, I would say my favorite, I'm surprised, is the AI Iron Man. I personally don't care too much about the AI Tony Stark head that came with this, but I think as an Iron Man figure goes, this is one of my favorites. I like the bright red and yellow. Honestly, this one is one that I would display with my Avengers more so than even the 80th Iron Man. I think you would probably disagree with me on that, but I like the feel of whatever kind of plastic this is. It's not like a painted yellow. It's like the plastic is actually yellow. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I think they're doing a really good job with their Iron Mans. Because I mean, back before when we had like the Toy Biz stuff when we were playing as kids, it was always hard to get like the blast effects on War Machine with a straight hand, and now they've got the hands that let you do that, and it looks really good.
The alternate hand that is actually like palm out.
Exactly. Yeah. It meant for a repulsor blast, so that's cool. And then I would say my second favorite from the wave is Civil Warrior from the video game. So it's a Gamerverse figure. I've never played the video game, but like Jordan said, I don't need to know the figure to know it looks cool. It looks like basically Captain America has a Iron Man suit, which I guess is really what this is. I think in the game, don't quote me, I think this was from the back of the box. Iron Man ends up dying or something, and then Captain America like goes and builds a Iron Man suit and becomes Civil Warrior. Then his shield has like an arc reactor in it. So I think it would have been cool if they had like made it so that you could port on a arc reactor blast for the shield, but still looks cool the other way. It's the same. I think it's the exact same figure as the Hydra Supreme from the Hydra 2-pack with Armanzola, which I think also is a cool figure. Just an armored up looking Captain America. How are you going to go wrong with that?
How are you going to go wrong? Yeah, that's one that I haven't seen too much. I think I've just seen yours. But I definitely agree on the AI Iron Man. I think that was it feels more obviously very similar to the 80th, but it feels like you said, it almost seems like they made a different use of a different material because he's very much more articulate and posable. Like you can get him into those kind of dynamic Iron Man poses a lot easier. And I think what's cool about him is that there you go, right there, looks great. Because this is another wave that went on clearance. I think I remember you and I both saw people starting to do customs just because there were a ton of, you know, $10 Iron Man figures floating around there. So that was kind of cool to see. Whether or not Hasbro intended it to be that way, I'm not sure. But yeah, as far as the movie figures themselves, I mean, probably the best one in my opinion is the Shang-Chi, just because he is pretty posable. Not quite to the level of the comic one that we both like a lot, with it where he's got kind of the shirtless, you know, with the butterflies and all the different arms. But he did have a couple different sets of hands, and he had the stick thing, and I think that was cool. I mean, I think that's definitely the best. The other ones, I guess I'm going to say again, at least with the Wenwu and the Death Dealer. I have Death Dealer here. I was showing Dakota this earlier. One thing is kind of cool. They recycled like the bullseye knife throwing hand, which I think is kind of a cool effect. I think that's fun. What I don't like so much is they have, it's not as thick of material on the, like, I guess, what is this little tunic thing?
Right. Yep.
But still, like in the movie, you know, he's running, he's jumping, he's sliding around. Like, I mean, I guess you can get him to
kind of bend over.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like the detail, the paint is cool, paint job. You even got like the eyes right down to those. But both him and Wenwu, I believe, have that kind of cloaky a little bit. I don't know. It's just, at least with the Death Dealer, I think is one that I wanted the character to be more in the movie and to be cooler. But B, I would have liked this figure to be cooler, because I could have, and I don't know, maybe a lot of people have done like custom. I haven't seen a ton of custom of him though. I don't know if you know, like you could have maybe, I'm not sure. I wanted a little more out of this guy in both the toy and the movie. But it just, the movie, I feel like the characters, and then you have the Katie figure, which my fiance really loves. The little, she loved that she had a bow and arrow and a little more, so I did get him. But she's definitely, with that big old dress on, you're not going to get much articulation there. So, I remember people saying they wanted to see Abomination as a Build-A-Figure, since he's featured in the movie. Well, he's in the movie for about 2 minutes, so maybe that's why said no.
But I mean, really, what would you have done differently than the Gamerverse Abomination? It looks almost the same. Maybe a little bit more fins on the head, but not much.
I do love Gamerverse Abomination. So yeah. But I guess we could then talk about
Mr. Hyde.
Mr. Hyde. I have Mr. Hyde here, which I think it was a cool idea. I think he's a figure that, again, is another kind of Stilt Man-y, Frogman-y choice to me, where it's like you don't see him all the time, but he's a cool guy. I mean, I love the detail in his eyes, where he's just got these bloodshot. He looks crazy. He looks like he's gonna attack you.
He definitely looks crazy.
Nuts. And he's got kind of the like hair on his hands, which is kind of gross and cool looking, and he's got the cane accessory, which is nice. Raise it over his head like he's about to start going to town on you. The one thing I didn't like, I think you had this too, is the legs. I don't know what it is. Maybe other people had this too, but they don't really like pop into place.
It was like super hard to get them on. I had to heat the legs up to get the legs into the spot.
I just didn't really do anything. Where's my leg? But it's just kind of like, I don't know. Again, another one where you kind of just gotta plop them there, because He's got that darn coat on, which I don't know. I get you need that because it completes the look. But I think I just that is my, I guess this is my running theme. I don't know if Hasbro's figured out the cloak cape, which is important because we got superheroes, you know. So I don't know. I think this is a cool one. I know it's and he's got like the underbite. Even he's got an underbite. That's kind of a cool detail.
Yeah. Have you seen the ones where they take his coat off and he's just got like the white shirt on underneath?
I think I have, where it's kind of just got like his vest or whatever.
Yeah, which I think that looks pretty cool, but I don't, when I had the figure and tried doing that, it didn't seem like something where if I got it off, it was going to go back on very easily. So I didn't ever take it off of mine. I'm sure somebody could probably heat it up and get it back on there, but yeah, I ended up trading mine for something else. But yeah, it was a decent figure. I think it's kind of in that same suited Build-A-Figure mold as like Kingpin and the Joe Fixit Hulk. Another, I mean, for almost, I mean, at least for Hyde in particular, I could not figure out which leg was which, because the feet looked like they were right and left, but then the way the knees bent, so that should be on the other side.
I think I got the legs on backwards.
Yeah, there's in one of the legs there's a right or a left, so that's how I figured it out.
Stay on though. Maybe they're on the right way. I don't know.
You have to heat them up and try it out that. I had to put mine in some hot water and then snap it on that way. But
put it in the oven at 400 for 20 minutes.
Exactly. Throw it in the deep fry and
that can start being our code for figures we don't like. You just gotta heat them up a little bit. Send Hasbro their plastic back. Just kidding. No, I think another fun Build-A-Figure choice. So
yeah, cool. I mean, it came with an accessory with the cane, so that's cool. I always think it's funny when you see in the Facebook group somebody's trying to sell Build-A-Figures for whatever it is, $10 a piece, and they're saying that the arm and the cane are two separate pieces, even though they came together. trying to milk the Build-A-Figure for everything it's worth.
That's right. Yeah,
so a strong collector knows.
A strong collector knows that you can't separate Mr. Hyde from his cane, to be quite honest. It's not right.
All right. Well,
those are the first. Yeah,
that's the first three. We've still got some more to go. We're at about 40-ish minutes now, so a little bit longer than a typical episode. We'll try to keep them to 30 minutes. This is our third official episode, so hopefully as you've been listening, you've seen and heard some improvements. I've upgraded the back, so I've got action figures around, upgraded our talking mics and things like that. So hopefully the audio quality is better. You'll have to let us know. Trying to cut out as many glitches as we can, and we'll see. We'll get the hang of this eventually. Each time you listen, you'll get better and better until sound like we're real professionals here.
By the 100th episode, we promise.
Oh my goodness.
Decent.
Oh, decent. I was thinking we were just going to be gold standard audio by then.
Yeah, we'll be beaming it right to your brain by that point.
Straight through the Neuralink. But anyway, this was our, I guess, part one of the year in review. Next time, we're going to start out with the Disney Plus Captain America flight gear build a wing set. But until then, stay strong. Oh, before that, follow us on the social media, Instagram, Strong Collectors. Like, share, subscribe to this podcast, depending on the platform you're on. Share it with all the people that you know enjoy action figures, even people that don't enjoy action figures. Maybe this will give them a little glimpse into why you love them so much, or maybe they'll just keep thinking you're crazy for buying so many toys. Either way, stay strong.